Hugs, a warm embrace, often a change between family, romantic partners, and friends, is seen in our society as a way of feeling closer to others and happier with ourselves while expressing appreciation, comfort, support, and more. For many people, a hug is a pleasant experience and something they desire. However, there are many autistics who do not like hugs, and there are a few who do embrace hugging. In this video, I'm going to break down why many autistic adults dislike hugs, while some embrace hugging. What to do if you are autistic and you do not like hugs and someone wants to hug you, and what everyone should know before hugging another person. So let's get started. Hey, Define Yourselfers, I am the Confident Autistic from theconfidentautistic.com. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Feel free to look around the channel. There's a lot of great content on here, and I hope you will return to the channel for more information about autism. I am an autistic adult, late diagnosed, a multi-certified life coach, and an advocate for autistic adults who is on a mission to empower you to embrace autism confidently. If this resonates with you, please consider supporting my mission. You can show your support in many ways, including by liking, sharing, and commenting on this video. But the best way you can show your support right now is by subscribing to this channel. And when you do not forget to ring the bell to be notified of new videos and when I go live. Why do we dislike or like hugs? Although most autistics do not like hugs, there are some of us on the spectrum who do enjoy being hugged. For those of us who do enjoy being hugged, hugs may be comforting and help us manage feelings of anxiety or stress. Hugs can provide gentle pressure that can calm the nervous system. Hugs can be especially comforting because they are predictable and provide comforting pressure. Some additional reasons why some autistic people may like hugs include sensory stimulation. Autistics like you and me may seek out sensory stimulation through deep pressured hugs. Attachment disorders. Although it may be more common in autistic children, we autistics may have attachment disorders or difficulties that contribute to our desire for constant physical contact, which basically means we need that contact to feel that we are connected and we are attached to other people. It, it's something that we need because we may feel insecure about friendships and relationships and all, because friendships and relationships are often very difficult for those of us on the spectrum to understand and navigate. For those of us who dislike hugs, our dislike is caused by our sensory processing differences. These differences often make us highly sensitive to touch, which causes us to feel overwhelmed or experience discomfort when we are hugged. This is often caused by the intensity of the physical contact, the pressure, or even the texture of someone else's clothes can lead us to a negative response to experiencing a hug. Let's dive a little deeper into what causes us to dislike hugs. Sensory overload. For many of us on the spectrum, we may experience sensory overload when touched. When this occurs, our brains process the sensation with increased intensity compared to our neurotypical peers, which often leads us to experience a feeling of distress. Tactile defensiveness. Now, some autistic adults exhibit tactile defensiveness, which is a fancy way of saying they have a strong aversion to touch in general, and not just hugs. Personal space issues. For some of us autistics, we may have a strong need for personal space, which can be compromised by hugging. And there is misinterpretation of social cues. Now, we may wish to avoid hugs as we do not always understand why a person is hugging us. For example, a person may want to hug us to show that they support us or encourage us or that we did a good job. And we might interpret it, that hug, as being more than just support, encouragement, etc. Now, this can lead to confusion for us on the spectrum, which can cause anxiety and stress. Not to mention it could cause, tension in any relationship we have. So we want to avoid that. We like things being stable. We like things being normal, routine, predictable, understandable. We don't like change that much. At least I know I don't. And a hug for somebody who's never hugged you before, that could be a sign that the relationship, the friendship, relationship, whatever, is evolving, and that can scare us. So for some of us, we don't want to be hugged for that particular reason because we will misunderstand or misinterpret the social cues from the other person who is hugging us. What can you do if you are autistic and do not like hugs? Excellent question. In an ideal world, the person who wishes to hug you will ask you first, but that does not always happen. Therefore, we must have a plan for the unexpected hug that we may encounter in our life. Now, you can call this plan your strategy or your protocol when someone approaches you with a hug. You might even want to create a script in advance to alleviate any anxiety that you may experience at the time a hugger is approaching you. By having that script in your head and knowing what that is, you're going to already have that tension from the hug or anxiety from the hug. Now you do not need that added anxiety. What do I say? How do I react to this? Because you have a protocol, you have a plan, you have a script. You're prepared. Be prepared. That's what we're going to be talking about here. Now, it is very important when somebody wants to give you a hug, if they have not asked you first, or even if they do, which we'll get into a little bit later, it is very important for you to communicate your boundaries clearly by letting people know you prefer other forms of affection like high fives, fist bumps, handshakes, or simple verbal expression of care. Now, you can also explain, if you're comfortable about doing so, that physical touch can be overwhelming for you while suggesting other ways to show their support or affection to you. Now, you may want to use this strategy as an opening to share your autism with others, or that you're on the spectrum with others, whether you've been late diagnosed, self identify, or suspect you're autistic. However, if you're not ready to reveal that you're on the spectrum to others, or in this case, to that one particular person, you may want to keep the explanation small to avoid accidentally revealing something you're not yet comfortable sharing about yourself. When you are communicating your boundaries with others, it is important for you to be upfront. Politely, and this is the key word, politely share with friends, family, colleagues, and others that you are not comfortable with hugs and explain why. As comfortable as you're explaining why, you can be very general, or if you like me more specific, which, like we mentioned earlier, could be a gateway or an opportunity for you to share that you're on the spectrum with somebody who does not already know. Now, remember, you do not have to share that you are autistic if you're not ready to, but you should let them know why hugs bother you and it's not them personally that is making you uncomfortable. Because just like we can misinterpret things that other people say and do, social cues, we miss them, we misread them. We sometimes think people are mad at us or disapprove us, and they're not. And sometimes we think people are very happy with us, and they're not. Other people can make that same assumption. Probably more common, I believe it is more common in the autism community for us to misinterpret, but it's possible for other people to misinterpret us. So when you tell someone you don't like being hugged, you're uncomfortable with it, you want to make sure, especially if it's true, you want to make sure they know it's not about them. Don't tear yourself down. You're not a bad person for not wanting hugs. That's cool. That's just the way that you're made. But you also want to make sure you're not giving the person the wrong impression that you don't like them, because that could, let's say that person's a close friend and all, that could damage your friendship. And let's be honest, for us autistics, friendships are few and far between because they're very hard for us to initiate and to maintain and to understand. So when we tell somebody we're not comfortable with being hugged, we need to make sure they know it's not their fault, nor is it ours. It's just who we are and how we're made up, because each person in the world is different. Now, when you are communicating to someone that you're not comfortable with hugs, it's a good time to suggest alternatives. This is a good way to show them it's really not about them. And you need to suggest alternatives because you are the best person to know what is uncomfortable and what is comfortable for you. So, when you are communicating your boundaries with others in regards to hugs specifically, and maybe physical contact in general, offer alternatives that they can do to show support or affection that you are comfortable with. You may be more comfortable with a pat on the back or a friendly wave, etc. Whatever it is, be sure to share it with others. Use visual cues. Now, if you're comfortable or this strategy is more comfortable way of communicating your boundaries, consider using a small card or bracelet with a symbol indicating your preference for normal physical contact. But most importantly, do not be pressured or feel pressured if somebody wants to give you a hug and it makes you uncomfortable. Because if someone tries to hug you in spite of sharing your boundaries, just politely excuse yourself and reiterate your preferences when it comes to hugging and or physical contact. This is all advocating for yourself. This is what it really boils down to. Self-advocating. Because we're not always going to have somebody there to advocate for ourselves. We have to be confident and comfortable to advocate our wants and our needs and our desires with other people. And that's part of the reason why I really do talk a lot about autism and embracing autism confidently. Autism can be scary at times. It can be overwhelming. It can be because of stigmas in our society and our culture can be a negative experience. But I want to help you develop that confidence that you can be proud of your autism. You can accept it. You can embrace it. You can, as we're talking about the subject, hug yourself for having that autism and hug the autism, whatever you want to do. Where you have the confidence to probably say to somebody, I'm on the spectrum. That's my goal for myself and for everyone else. And I know we're getting a little bit off topic here. I'll get back to our topic in a second. But I want to get to the point in my life, and I like to help you get to the point in your life where you can tell somebody you're autistic, and it won't matter to you how they react. If they react positively, great. If they react negatively, that's not your problem, that's theirs. And that tells you about their characteristics, their character, I should say. And maybe you should consider, do I really want and need that person in my life? What everyone should do before hugging another person, especially for the very first time. Now, for our allies and others who are watching this video, as I mentioned earlier, it is important to know that not all autistic adults dislike hugs, and some of us may even seek out deep pressure, touch as a calming sensation. Therefore, it is best to ask before hugging someone, especially for the very first time. Now, if you're about to hug somebody, especially for the very first time, all you need to do is ask if that person wants to be hugged and is comfortable with hugging and physical contact before initiating the hug. And if they say they are not, or prefer if you did not hug them, be sure to respect their boundaries. If someone who is autistic does not like being hugged, there are two things you can do. The first is to understand their needs. Remember that it is not a reflection of their feelings towards you, but rather it is more than likely a sensory issue. Second, if they do offer an alternative form of affection, such as fist bumps, high fives, etc., that I mentioned earlier in this video, respect that request by honoring it. And in the future, contact with your autistic friend, remember their preference. Now, if they do not offer an alternative to a hug, consider other ways to show care, including, like I mentioned a couple of times before, high five, friendly pat on the back, or verbal expression of appreciation. Even though you meet somebody and you learn their preference that they don't like hugs, and I told you that you should try to remember that preference, and you should, it still would be appropriate to ask them in the future if they would be comfortable with a hug. Because for me, I'm going to use myself for an example, and I'm sure others in the spectrum are this way. There are times, and primarily, I don't like being hugged. I don't like being touched. I really do not like that. It bothered me. It bothered me even before my physical disability of an incomplete spinal cord injury, where I use mobility equipment to get around. It bothers me even more for it uh, uh, about being touched or being hugged. Okay. But then there are sometimes I want a hug. So you could come up to me and meet me on a Monday and say, would you like a hug, Chris? No, let's just do a fist bump. Come up 2 weeks later and ask me, Chris, is it okay if I hug you? Oh, yeah, I would love a hug. So it's a good idea to ask each time. And you can say something like, are you comfortable with me hugging you? I know if you're dating and all that kind of kills the romantic mood, but that does show the person that you're with. You respect them and you respect their boundaries, and that's going to really get you far in the dating circles. So yeah, there's some people, like I mentioned in this video, that don't like hugs. Most autistics are not that comfortable with hugs or physical contact. And there's some that are. And then there are people like me who there's some days I like a hug, some days I don't. Most days I don't like physical contact. So it's you probably have an 8 out of 10 chance or 4 out of 5 chance of me saying no thank you to a hug than me saying yes to a hug. Now, getting a little bit more personal, but yet this is going to still stay G rated. I do enjoy hugs with my wife and physical contact with my wife. In fact, there are times I crave it, and I'm sensory seeking for that physical contact with her. And again, I'm keeping this G rated, but use your own imagination if you want to. But there are times that I do crave that. But then there's other times I don't want to be touched, not even by her. But where 4 out of 5 times I don't want to be touched by anyone but everyone else, not counting my wife. And my wife is 1 out of 5 times I don't want to have that physical contact. So she's on the opposite end of the spectrum. So also for me as an autistic person, it depends on the individual and the relationship of whether I want to be hugged or not. So people can be in both camps. You can be in both camps. Both I like hugs and I don't like physical contact. And it's okay. And it can depend on the day and your mood and what your sensory levels are and your anxiety levels, etc. It can have a lot of factors on whether you want to be hugged or touched on one day compared to another. Now it's your turn. Share in the comments if you're comfortable and when you're comfortable what you thought about this video. Where are you on being hugged? Do you like it? Do you not like it? If you're not a fan of it, what alternate ways are you comfortable interacting with somebody who wants to hug you? Do you like fist bumps? Do you like high fives? Do you like something else? Please share that in the comments or join the conversation in our Facebook group, Autistic Adults Embracing Autism. I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts on this video. If you have an idea for a video, hey, put it in the comments as well. I would love to hear them. Now, I do not have time to respond to every single comment that is posted. I wish I did, but I don't. But I do have time to read each and every one of them. And that means a lot to me, seeing all these wonderful comments and your thoughts on the videos. I really do appreciate them. I take them into consideration, and that helps me determine what you all are looking for in videos from me and other stuff that I can create and can do and we can do together to help foster or fulfill my mission of helping people on the spectrum in particular, and all others in general, to embrace autism confidently. So thank you very much for all your comments and your participation on the channel and helping the channel grow. So until next time, this is Chris Mitchell, aka the Confident Autistic, reminding you that now is the time for you to embrace autism confidently. Join me live Thursday nights for the Confident Autistic Live, where I answer your questions, we discuss this week's videos, offer support, and more. The fun starts Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time in the US of A. Be sure to click the bell when you subscribe to the channel to be notified when the party begins.